Next question, the member for Oshawa.
Thank you very much, and my question is to the Premier. Speaker, Lower Duffins Creek in the Durham region is an environmental wetland complex that has been classified as provincially significant and is protected by law. Yet, this Premier and his ministers are pursuing its destruction at all costs. The community cannot understand why this government would prioritize a warehouse that could be built elsewhere over a provincially significant, irreplaceable, environmentally vital wetland. Ontario Nature and Environmental Defence have launched an eco-justice lawsuit against this government, alleging unlawful use of a Minister's Zoning Order, or MZO, allowing for demolition of a part of this protected wetland. Speaker, this government just introduced Bill 257 that would retroactively make lawful what, up and until this bill, would have been deemed unlawful. My question is the Premier planning to rewrite any other laws to wriggle out of any other lawsuits?
Parliamentary Assistant and member for Milton.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I pointed out earlier, every single MZO issued by the minister has been at the request of the local municipality, unless the lands are provincially owned, Mr. Speaker. In this particular case, the request was made by the city. It was supported by the region, Mr. Speaker. This project is important to the region, would create over 10,000 jobs, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have a responsibility to support our municipal partners. That's exactly what we're doing, Mr. Speaker. The proponent in this case and the TRC have entered into an agreement that will ensure the creation of ecological benefit that meets or exceeds any loss to the natural system, Mr. Speaker, and will lead to net benefit to the natural environment system. Mr. Speaker, we're also committed to growing the Greenbelt. We've launched the consultation. Currently, Mr. Speaker, we made a commitment, unlike the Liberals, that carved out the Greenbelt 17 different times, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary.
Thank you again to the Premier. As CBC recently reported, an internal government memo warned that without these Bill 257 Planning Act amendments, there is a, quote, moderately high risk that this MZO would be found to have contravened that law. It also warns that without consultation with impacted Indigenous communities, there is a, quote, high risk that a court would conclude that Ontario has not fulfilled its constitutional consultation obligations, end quote. Wow. This government is going to remarkable lengths to follow through on this warehouse promise. This weekend, hundreds of people in Pickering took a stand for the wetland and against this Premier's anti-environment agenda. The President of the Treasury Board, who's also the Minister of Finance, should be defending this environmental treasure in his community. Folks across the Durham region want to know why this MPP, the Premier and the Minister of Municipal Affairs are doggedly clinging to this particular project. I would love to know who's really making the decisions for the Premier or for the province. My question is this. What will it take for this Premier to leave Duffins Creek alone and stop attacking the environment?
Member for Milton.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I continue to point out, facts are facts. Facts can't be changed, Mr. Speaker. I know the members of the opposite are always, for some reason, short on facts, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as I mentioned we made a commitment to protect the Greenbelt, and the minister has been absolutely clear that we will not allow any development into the Greenbelt, period. As a matter of fact, we are working on expanding the Greenbelt, Mr. Speaker. We've launched the consultations. Unlike the opposition, NDP that supported the Liberal government, Mr. Speaker, carved out the Greenbelt 17 different times, Mr. Speaker. We believe that is absolutely unacceptable. To be able to do that, especially to support their friends, to support the insiders, Mr. Speaker, we will not tolerate that on this side of the House. We will continue to stand up for every single Ontarian. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The next question, the member for York Centre.